Hey, good evening, everyone. How you doing? Oh, hold on. It just froze here for a minute. Hopefully you guys can all see me. I'll wait for somebody to chime in because I look frozen. Neil, you're in. Can you tell me if I'm frozen? Give me a thumbs up. Oh, you did give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. I'm not frozen anymore. Awesome. All right. Tonight we've got a really exciting presentation. This is a training that a lot of people have been waiting for. I got some comments that my Miracle Molecule series was boring. I hope not. You guys, science isn't boring. Science is really cool. But, you know, I understand there are people out there who just want to hear about the products and all the cool things about the products and not get into specific ingredients on the products. But tonight we are going to be talking about a specific product. So we're going to go in depth onto one of our newest products that is now in stock and is shipping out to people. And people are getting it, so they're able to try it. So hopefully during this live tonight, for those of you who have received it, like Van and boy, I can't remember all the names of people that have received it yet, that have posted how much they love it, but please share your experiences tonight as I'm talking about it or as I'm talking about the different ingredients. Go ahead and just post and share your experience with the product here. Because unfortunately, this is one of those products that I don't have a personal experience on, although I have family members who love it. So I do keep it in stock here at my home. Anyway, so let's get into this tonight. We are going to be talking about Perk. This is a product that was in high demand. When we first started the company, we had a lot of people ask, hey, are you going to be coming out with a coffee? Because I, in my career, have formulated now four coffees in the United States, but 2 coffees outside of the United States. So I've done 6 coffee formulas in my career, which I guess doesn't make me an expert if I've only got 6 different coffee formulas. But I am an expert in the ingredients, and I know a heck of a lot about growing it, living on the Big Island of Hawaii. And right where I lived was a very famous coffee farm. In fact, it had tourism groups and everything going there. But maybe some of you have not heard. I think you've all heard of Kona coffee. But Kona coffee among the locals is not as popular as the Kau brand of coffee. The Kau region of the Big Island has won more awards for their coffee and is a more organic, a more sort of sustainable. It's a better region for growing than the Kona side of the island. And so I got to learn all about the best regions to grow coffee and all of that stuff from my neighbors who literally owned the coffee farms. And I was raising mamaki. And I don't want to talk too much about mamaki because it's super cool and it's going to be a really cool product in the future. 2 or 3 year future, I think. But it's a cool plant. And I was one of the... there was a large farm growing it next to me, and then I was the only second farmer commercially prepared to cultivate it on the Big Island. So anyway, that's mamaki. That's something we'll talk about far distant future. It's really cool. But tonight we're going to talk about coffee. And we're going to talk specifically about the ingredients in Perk. And before I begin this presentation, I'm going to dive first and foremost right into the FAQs, the frequently asked questions on this product. And I'm going to turn on a light here first. Let's see if I can get that because it looks, there we go. That might be a little better. Because everybody was so excited about this product and I immediately started getting frequently asked questions, the same question over and over again, because there seems to be a very popular brand of coffee, I'm being very liberal in that term coffee, okay, coffee out there, and I'll explain those reasons later, that everyone kept asking me about. And so when I Googled it and looked at it, you guys, it's clear and plain on the ingredients that it's not a coffee. So I'm going to start with an FAQ, and I'm just going to cover the 5 most frequently asked questions regarding Perk by Lifewise. First and foremost, the most frequently asked question I get is, can you explain the difference between Perk and Rise? And I should use, because Rise is probably trademarked, I should use the company. I think it's trademarked by Rise International. But I got a lot of questions about that, and so I looked at the ingredients facts panel and the ingredient list of the Rise coffee. And first and foremost, you guys, I have to tell you that Rise is not coffee. So don't call it a coffee. In fact, coffee is like the last ingredient in the formula. It is a mushroom blend. Rise is literally, I guess, roasted mushrooms. And when you read the supplement facts panel on Rise, it doesn't say anything about standardization of those mushrooms. So we don't know if those mushrooms have any of the beneficial ingredients or not. I have said this many, many times in my training, and I want you guys to be very clear on this. It's not the herb that heals or cures you or gives you any benefit. It's the active phytochemical in the plant, okay? That was the whole reason, you guys, behind my Part 5 Miracle Molecule series that I've just done for the last 5 weeks in a row. I'm trying to talk about phytochemicals, or the active ingredients inside of the plants, right? It's not ginseng that gives you energy. It's the ginsenosides inside of ginseng that gives you energy. It's not the frankincense that is anti-inflammatory, right? It's the boswellic acids, in particular the AKBAs inside of frankincense, that have the anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving properties. All these things I've been training on. So when you have an ingredient panel that literally just lists a bunch of mushrooms, just go to the grocery store and buy those mushrooms, because that's what you're getting. You're getting chopped up, powdered food, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's way better than synthetic ingredients. So I'm not knocking Rise at all. I mean, their formulator probably had a purpose in creating the Rise coffee as a food hot beverage, because that's exactly what it is. It's not coffee, it's a mushroom beverage. Now, they have, I believe, a little over 1 gram of fat in there in the form of MCT oils. And then their very last ingredient, so less than a gram, says coffee. It doesn't tell you what kind of coffee. It doesn't say, it literally says coffee. For all I know, it could be coffee flavoring. I don't know, because I'm not the formulator of Rise. But to answer the question, how does Perk compare with Rise? And I don't have a bag of Rise here. Well, Perk is coffee. Rise is not coffee. So it doesn't compare, because we're talking apples to oranges, right? Now, if we're talking about just the active ingredients in those two, I use standardized mushroom extracts, but I don't just use mushrooms. In fact, mushrooms are not our first and key ingredient. The first and main ingredient that I'll be talking about later is Gotu Kola. And it's written on our bag in the Latin word Centella Asiatica. I gave a training on a Facebook Live on coffee when I had first finished formulating it, before we had introduced it and was selling it to anyone. Everybody was saying, hey, there's no Gotu Kola on the label. Well, yes, there is. You just have to know the Latin name for it. So just so you know, it's our first ingredient after coffee. Coffee is our first ingredient, then Centella Asiatica, or Gotu Kola, is our second ingredient. If you didn't know this, most people do. Ingredients are listed in order of quantity. That's a legal requirement, okay? We don't have to write the quantity. We can keep our formulas proprietary, like Rise did, like we do with Perk. But you do have to list them in order of quantity without disclosing that quantity. But just so you know, coffee is our first ingredient. So that's an answer to the most commonly asked question that I get. Now, the second most commonly asked question that I get, or frequently asked question, is, how do you open these stick packs? You have to understand, first and foremost, something about coffee. especially, well, yeah, I mean, there are certain oils in coffee that provide the aroma and that wonderful flavor that people love. I'm not a fan of coffee flavor, but I love the smell, man. I'm like a coffee connoisseur smeller. I guess living on the Big Island and especially living in Japan where they love their coffee, iced coffee, hot coffee, I would always grab those bags because I love it, and I would squeeze those bags. And I can tell you literally a Tanzanian coffee from a Colombian coffee to a Peruvian grown coffee. I can tell you by the smell because I've smelled so many of them, and you get the more acidic from the Tanzania bean, but you get the richer aroma from a Peruvian bean. Anyway, we're not going to go into those details, but we have to have, unlike our lift is just a real easy tear open little packet, but these particular packets have a PVP liner. It's a food grade FDA approved PVP liner inside of them to keep the coffee fresh, so that when you open this, you get that nice aroma. But there is an easy way to open it, and it was designed this way. Do you guys see this you see the little lip right here, right? Somebody told me, like a Snickers bar, grab this thing, and guess what? It pulls right apart. And I just opened my coffee in the camera. There, it's open, and I can dump it out. And I don't want to dump it out. I'll save it for the people in my family that drink this. But that was super easy. And by the way, I have really bad fingers. In fact, three broken fingers right now. This one's been broken for a long time, but it doesn't straighten it out. These two I broke about 4 months ago. I still can't make a fist properly. You can see my hands all jacked up. So if I can open it with a lame hand, probably even somebody with arthritis can open that. If you don't, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you're 80 years old and you love your coffee and you've got severe arthritis and you can't open it by simply peeling that apart the way I did. Then guess what's the next best method? Watch this. Holy cow, it opened. That was actually faster than peeling it apart. Keep one of these handy. I've got kitchen scissors, okay? So that's how you open Perk. 2 ways. I just taught you guys 2 ways to open it. There's other ways to open it. I see my stepdaughter, she just grabs it and goes with her teeth and rips it open. So, but that is an FAQ. I think everyone's kind of used to lift where they just tear it with their fingers and it's easy. Well, lift doesn't have the oils in it that have to be preserved. So we had to seal this packet up tight with that nice PVP lining on the inside of this packet to preserve the freshness so that when you open it, you get that great aroma and it keeps the flavor and all that stuff. So it is difficult to just tear, but if you just pull it apart at the seam or snip it with scissors, easy to open. Number 3, most frequently asked question, and I hate to even share this one, but I have people say, can children take Perk? I hope as parents, you guys, that you are not giving your children coffee, okay? It's not a wise decision, and we try to be wise here at LifeWise. If you want all the cognitive enhancing benefits of the superfoods that I have and the adaptogenic herbs that I have in Perk, we have them. We have them in Clarity. They're in Lift. Get your kids on the One every day, blend it up in their favorite smoothie. I will admit I'm a semi-bad parent in that I have let River use Lift. Only because, I say semi-bad because it does have 120 milligrams of caffeine in it, but I dilute the crap out of it for her. I put 1 stick pack in like 48 ounces of water instead of 16 ounces of water, okay? So she gets, and she doesn't drink all 48 ounces. There's no way her little body will hold all that. She probably has an 8-ounce glass of that 42-ounce dilution rate. But she loves the flavor of it, and I love what it does for her as far as that little pick-me-up and cognitive enhancement that she gets. She's used Clarity. She uses Shield. Most of our products are great for kids. And yes, Perk is safe for children, but man, I just wouldn't want children getting addicted to that flavor and the feeling. Let them have coffee when they're late teens or adults, right? But that's just my opinion. But yes, children can have Perk if you want to give it to them. A wise decision is to have them wait until they're adults. So How much water do I use to make Perk? Guess what, guys? Maybe those are people who haven't actually purchased the package yet and they're pre-thinking, but it's written right here. In fact, James, our wonderful designer, said, hey, if you want to make an espresso, use 1 ounce of coffee. If you want to make a rich and flavorful, use 4 ounces of water. Sorry, 1 ounce of water for an espresso, hot water. If you want smooth and creamy, 6 ounces. And if you want light and flavorful, 8 ounces. So there you go. The instructions are right on the bag as to how much to use. And the last FAQ I get is, can I use Perk as iced coffee? Guess what? That's written right on the bag too. Enjoy, hot or cold, it says. So our marketing guy has thought of those questions well in advance before other people and actually put them right on the package. So thank you, James, for doing that. It was wonderful. Those are the frequently asked questions of Perk. So let's move on to the ingredients now. As I mentioned, first and foremost, you guys, Perk is coffee. It is a coffee, okay? And as a coffee, you are getting natural amounts of caffeine. Oh, that is another FAQ, but I'll answer that now. It is around 45 to 50. I think when we tested, it was like 47.5 milligrams of coffee. But we did 2 or 3 tests, and the highest was a little over 50. It was like 51. The lowest was like 46. So I'm telling people between 45 and 50 milligrams of coffee per packet. And the reason why we can't give you a specific number, like real specific, but you know, in that plus or minus 10% range, is because it's a natural freeze-dried roasted coffee. Every bean has a slightly different content. And so you're not going to get exact, but you're going to get close, 45 to 50 milligrams of caffeine. All right. Now let's learn a little bit about coffee and that golden zone that it takes to grow coffee in. You got to have literally the right altitude, the right environment, the right humidity, and the right heat. And you guys, that's why for me, like the Kona coffee, it's a little dry in Kona. If you guys haven't been to the Kona side of the island of Hawaii, it's just not quite the right humidity. And because of that, they have to irrigate. Now, almost everyone in Kona catches the rainwater, which is great. At least they're not using like a hard water from well water and stuff that puts a lot more calcium in the soil than what the volcanic ash. Typically, coffee grows in great volcanic soils, which Kona does have. And because they use rainwater, I'm also especially pleased how they do that. But again, it's not the perfect environment. One of the reasons why I chose to use the Colombia bean is because there is an ideal location in Colombia. And in fact, in Spanish, it's Triángulo del Coffee, or coffee. Sorry, I said coffee in Japanese. When I try to speak Spanish, like Japanese naturally comes out. I hate that. I can never be trilingual. I know a heck of a lot of Spanish, but every time I go to speak it, the Japanese version always comes out. Like whenever I try to say un pez in Spanish, it comes out sakane in Japanese, and I don't know why. I spent a lot of time in Japan, I guess. But the triangle, the coffee triangle, is about 3 to 5 states or regions in Colombia that have that perfect 2,000 to 6,000 feet elevation, and they get good annual rainfall. It's a more humid environment, even though it's a higher elevation, and it just grows an amazing bean. And I think that's why even to this date, Colombia coffee is famous. It's famous for its aroma and its flavor. However, because of the mass cultivation of coffee in that region, you guys, a majority of the farmers use herbicides and pesticides massively in that area. And it's hard to find areas that are not cross-contaminated, but there is one state in particular that has this zone, and it's a large zone. It's about a 200 square kilometer range where they don't allow pesticides or herbicides. Because again, as the wind blows when they're spraying those, you could get cross-contamination of that. And so we buy from that particular region where there's no cross-contamination. It's herbicide-free, pesticide-free. I'm actually running the tests on this now, so I'll be able to post those on Facebook. We'll be able to have them on our corporate page to be able to download if you want to see those results. Because it is important to me that coffee is a huge commodity, and 99% of the world's coffee is full of pesticides and herbicides. And so it's one of the questions you guys as partners are going to get on our coffee is it, I'm not going to use the term organic because, again, the organic certification process in Colombia is far different than the organic certification here in the United States. In fact, it's actually a better process. But when we use the term organic, because we're marketing in the United States, organic literally means USDA certified organic. I have higher standards than that, okay? So I'll say that straight up front. When I buy a raw material, I'm sourcing and purchasing a raw ingredient that typically exceeds those standards. And so we do have to do organic pesticide, herbicide testing. I even do DNA fingerprinting so that I know that I'm getting a coffee and not getting something like ground chicory. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but there's a lot of Chinese suppliers from Chinese grown coffee, and not just that, but Vietnamese as well, who actually use chicory root blended with their coffee bean to get you more pounds, more kilograms, so that they get more profit. So we do DNA fingerprinting to make sure that that doesn't happen as well, that we're getting coffee and not chicory root and things like that. So I also look at how we preserve the coffee. So for instant coffee, there are many, many companies who just take the beans, grind them up, and then they store that, or they liquefy it, and then they spray dry it. We don't do that. And that's one of the reasons why we've got such a different flavor. When people hear instant coffee, they think, okay, this coffee's already been not just roasted, but turned into a liquid and then spray dried. And so it usually has like maltodextrin and carriers and things on it like that. And I'm not going to name any brands, but they're your popular instant coffee brands that you see in all the grocery stores. But there is a much, much better method that was developed in the late 90s and is more common now in your higher end freeze-dried coffees. And I just said the word, it's freeze-drying process. So they actually take the bean and they freeze-dry it. And that's it. That's how they store it. So when we go to make the product, we just grind those freeze-dried beans into a fine powder. And because it's a fine powder, it readily dissolves in water. So you're getting an instant coffee that hasn't already been made into a liquid coffee. So it's a freeze-dried coffee. So it doesn't oxidize, because coffee oxidizes during transportation, especially when you see those pre-roasted beans. And you've seen the commercials with those little gunny sacks, and they're stacking those on pallets and then putting them on sea cargo. And that stuff ships on hot tarmacs in hot containers. The coffee begins to oxidize over time. And that's why there's a lot of people that want their coffee beans fresh. So they start air freighting. But air freighting also, that huge drop in temperature and then back on the airplane tarmac where you get the huge high temperatures in the 120, 130 degrees is sitting out on the airport tarmac, and then the negative 50 degrees as it's in the airplane, also affects the coffee's flavor, which is why we purchase a freeze-dried coffee that is freeze-dried there on site in Colombia, then stuck into its airtight containers before it's shipped to the United States. So again, you have to be really serious about your sourcing of your coffee bean, because if you don't check all of this stuff, you're not going to get the flavor. And I think for those of you who have known my past coffee formulas, know the quality of where I get my supplies, because it tastes amazing. It does not taste like instant coffee. It doesn't taste like even other freeze-dried coffees. Okay, so I'll just throw that out there. So the main ingredient in our perk is coffee. Well, let's talk about the cool ingredients and what makes perk different than just other coffees, all right? First and foremost, the Centella Asiatica. That is Go-To Cola. I would love for you guys to get on the internet and type in benefits of Go-To Cola. We'll go over some of those benefits right now, and I'm going to do it in a very legal way. There's things that I can't, because I'm talking about now a specific product, I can't make any claims outside of the normal structure and function of the body. So I will use these words in a legal support, in legal ways, but I want your minds to wander. I want your minds to think about what I'm actually saying and the implications that could have for you and your health, all right? So get creative with your thoughts as I state the legal terms, all right? Number one, supports cognitive function. Let your mind go crazy on that one, all right? Supports memory recall, all right? This is a normal, memory recall is a normal function of the body, but for some people as they age, it becomes not a normal function. But Centella asiatica has tons of clinical studies showing that it supports healthy memory recall, all right? Supports healthy circulation. And that's something, by the way, that coffee is also known to do. Because of the caffeine, it improves circulation, causes a slight elevation in blood pressure. But Go-To Cola supports healthy circulation without the elevation in blood pressure. Pretty cool, huh? Another thing that Go-To Cola does is it, man, how do I say this in the legal term? I don't want to say supports depression. That would mean like it causes depression. It is used to help people who have depression and anxiety. I hope that's the legal way of saying it, but used regularly can support healthy mood. How's that? Let's put it that way. Hopefully we got a thumbs up from our client compliance department on that. It also supports healthy inflammation responses. And my favorite, because guys, coffee, the regular use of coffee has been shown to cause liver damage over time. The elevated caffeine levels, the constant use, people drinking 5 or 6 cups of this stuff a day. It harms the stomach, it harms the GI tract, it harms the liver. But Go-To Cola has wonderful liver antioxidant and liver protective properties, so it supports healthy liver function. So we actually have an ingredient in here that staves off the negative effects of drinking a lot of coffee. Let's move on to the next ingredient, alpha GPC. This is another ingredient that I've done trainings on. Go watch on our LifeWise group YouTube channel. You'll be able to find trainings of mine for clarity. I talk extensively about alpha GPC in clarity because it is also one of the main ingredients in clarity. Well, it's the third, so coffee, Go-To Cola, and alpha GPC. It's the third highest ingredient in our coffee. I did it for 3 reasons, guys. Alpha GPC is a natural fat. And many of you have heard of like the butter coffees or the keto coffees or adding more fats to your coffee so that you get an increase in half-life of the caffeine in your bloodstream. That's the main reason I put alpha GPC in the coffee. It is a brain nutrient. It is a pure fat, so it helps with the flavor because it's a fat, but it also helps with the alkalinity of the coffee, or I should say the acidity. Coffee is very acidic, but by adding alpha GPC, I get almost a full point elevation in alkalinity. So I increase the alkalinity of the coffee by adding alpha GPC, as well as supporting cognitive function, supports healthy memory recall, and supports new neural pathway development. So there's a phrase out there like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's literally true from a scientific perspective. We have trouble developing new neural pathways the older we get. But alpha GPC has been shown to speed up that new neural pathway development in senior citizen, and in a particular study, it was Alzheimer's patients. So it's a really cool ingredient. Now let's talk about the mushroom blend that I have in Perk. I do have 3 mushrooms, and I chose these mushrooms not because they're popular, but because they each serve a specific function. I chose chaga, reishi, and lion's mane in that order. Lion's mane, of course, for the cognitive support that it gives people. Reishi for the immune support. It's a wonderful, and these, by the way, are all adaptogenic mushrooms, so they have a wide range of benefits. But reishi in particular, because I purchased a standardized reishi mushroom to contain 25% beta-glucans. Again, it's the active phytochemicals in the mushrooms that make the ingredient work, and I was particularly targeting for reishi the beta-glucans because here's something I need you guys to do. I can't do it on this live video because I would break all sorts of FDA laws if I were to tell you what the clinical studies of beta-glucans show. But I want you to type in benefits of reishi mushroom or benefits of beta-glucan. You're going to see all sorts of cool clinical studies. And trust me, you're going to want to drink a cup of this Perk every single day because of the wonderful properties of the reishi mushroom. Now, chaga, you can do that same Google search, man. Chaga has cognitive benefits, immune benefits. The reason why I put chaga in there is because of the gut microbiome benefits, okay? Chaga is a wonderful prebiotic. Remember I talked about how drinking coffee on a regular basis or too much coffee increases blood pressure, it destroys your gut microbiome, it injures your stomach. In fact, stomach cancer, colon cancer, and high blood pressure are all negative problems associated with drinking too much coffee, all right? Chaga, on the other hand, is a wonderful gut protectant and microbiome food. It's a prebiotic because of, again, the particular type of polysaccharides that are found in chaga. So I chose chaga particularly for that reason, although you can Google it and there's tons of other health benefits on it. Let's move on to another, my favorite adaptogen that I put here in copious quantity. It's like the 4th ingredient I've got in this product, ashwagandha. I love ashwagandha. I've been using ashwagandha in my formulation career for over 20 years. And I have used ashwagandha for weight loss. I have used ashwagandha for cognitive enhancement. I've used ashwagandha for mood and depression and anxiety support in formulas before. I've used ashwagandha. Did I say weight loss? Specifically for weight loss. In fact, there's a very large multi-billion-dollar company that I formulated their weight loss program for that is still being sold today. I can't say who they are, but it's a popular weight loss program. And the main ingredient I put in there was a patented form of ashwagandha that had slimming studies on it. So I love this herb. And again, I used a standardized, it's a 10-to-1 concentration of ashwagandha. So it's not just ashwagandha. In fact, it says right on the label. It says 10x concentration ashwagandha right on the label. So it's not just regular ashwagandha root powder, okay? It is a highly concentrated form of ashwagandha. So even in small doses, I'm getting amazing benefits off of it. And then lastly, the last ingredient we have in this product is L-tyrosine. I'm running out of time here. I've talked way too long. But L-tyrosine, you guys, there's a common theme I want you to keep seeing in this. I have talked about mood and anxiety and depression multiple times throughout as I've been discussing these ingredients. Look at the benefits of L-tyrosine, and those are the first things you're going to see pop up on your search engine, all right? You're also going to, well, those are the 2 main. It is a non-essential amino acid, but it is an amino acid that to me, for mood and cognitive health, is very essential, and we don't get a lot of it because we're not eating a lot of branched chain amino acids. So sometimes our bodies don't produce all the necessary amino acids, or I should say non-essential. Non-essential just means that your body can produce it by combining other amino acid groups or in certain foods. But a lot of us aren't eating those foods on a regular basis that will help our body build L-tyrosine. And because of the amount of screen time that we have and other stress factors, I think that's why depression and anxiety are such huge problems in our society nowadays. And so I put specifically ingredients and herbs and this amino acid L-tyrosine in here to help combat that problem we have in this country, in all modern societies, by the way, nowadays. So I hope I've answered the primary, most frequently asked question that I get. What's better? Why is your product better than Rise? Why is your product better than XYZ company or whatever out there? Just know that number one, it's coffee. And number two, it's got very specific ingredients in here for very specific reasons, not just because they're popular. I don't do that with my products. I have a specific function in mind when I formulate. So as you guys use this coffee, I would love to see thousands of Facebook posts everywhere about your story. Let's hear your story with Perk. And did Perk perk up your day? Does Perk perk up your mood? Does it perk up your cognitive function? Does it help perk up new neural pathways for you? I don't know, but let's get it in you and let's find out. So share this information with your friends and family out there. Coffee is the number 2 most consumed beverage in the United States, guys. Millions and millions of cups are drank every day. It's a multi-billion dollar industry. You can build a huge business around this product only. Now, I'm not saying you go and do that. We've got other amazing products, but you can do it if that's what you choose to do. Get this out there to your friends. There's nothing like Perk on the market, and I will make the same challenge. I will draw the line in the sand. If any other scientist or formulator out there thinks that they've got something better than this in a coffee, or yeah, I don't even care if you call it a hot beverage, like my friends at Rise, go for it. Draw the line in the sand. Shoot me a challenge. I'll take you up on that challenge any day. Thanks for tuning in with me tonight. I hope to see you guys next week in the lab with Dr. Tracy Gibbs, Chief Science Officer for LifeWise. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you all next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Have a good evening. Bye.